Hello, 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 and good evening on this October Friday, the 11th, I believe. Yes, the 11th, October 11th. Welcome to Spooky Month, and we're continuing our Halloween theme throughout the month. And tonight we're going to talk about one of my favorite monsters, the werewolf, and we're going to talk about and explore whether this is real or not. So let's get the show on the road. All right. Welcome, 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 everyone. 22 people in the house. That's excellent. Good evening. Good evening. How are we? On behalf of Lenny, who's in full costume this evening, and Victor behind him, I want to say welcome to the library. And I'm glad you're joining me tonight for this little delving into the tales of werewolves and whether they are real or not. We'll figure that out. But first of all, let me say hello to everybody. Hello, Arlene Marlena. Hello, Cranky. How are you? Gerard is in the house. Latin Butterfly is here. Tommy Stiggs is here. I saw Theme Dude was here before. Adam, my man, is here. I wonder if a werewolf could out-eat Adam. I don't know. That's a good question. We should have a poll on that, whether Adam can out-eat a werewolf. Nick M in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Who else is here? William from Brooklyn is here. See No Evil, how are you? M Pow is here. Todd Father, great to see you. Patty Daly, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Delilah is here. Very nice. All the gang is here. Love this. I hope I didn't miss anyone here. Shannon is here. Great to see you, Shannon. Hope you're okay from the Florida hurricanes. All our Florida friends, I hope they're doing well. And let's get moving here. Let's get down. I think I hit everybody, unless some other people came in later. I apologize if I missed you, but Don McHugh is here. How are you? All right. Bill C is in the house. Excellent. What a crowd. I love it. 23 people to start off the show. I love it. All right. Now let's start by lighting our candles. And then I got an interesting show for you, I think. But you'll be the judge of that ultimately, right? All right. I don't know. What do you think of Lenny's costume. Pretty cool, huh? Right. He's very into themes. Anyway, so let's talk about some werewolves tonight. Now, where do werewolves come from? Where does this legend, or not legend, who knows, where does it come from? Well, it goes, and you will find it in basically the history of any human civilization. You will find some type of werewolf legend or story. And the term that is goes along with werewolves or describes a werewolf is lycanthropy. That's the official term, and you'll find lycanthropy in any culture in the world. You'll find it from Asia to Africa to Europe, all over the place. You will find legends of what is the definition. The definition is pretty straightforward. It is here we go. I'll put it up here. Transformation of a man into a wolf, from Greek lycos, wolf, and anthropos, man. According to popular beliefs, the metamorphosis from a man to a werewolf reveals itself both and physically. Oh, physically and physically. What is that all about? Reveals itself both physically and physically. That's oh, psychically and physically. Okay, there we go. So there's your official definition of what we're talking about. Now, are werewolves just a legend, or are they possibly real? Well, I have some stories that may make you think about this a little bit more and decide yourself whether there were actual werewolves or are actual werewolves out there somewhere, or is it all just made up and a legend? So, but where does our modern werewolf ideas come from? Our modern werewolf ideas really come from the 1941 movie The Werewolf, or Werewolf Man. I'm sorry, The Wolf Man. That's what it was called, The Wolf Man, with Lon Chaney Jr. And this this movie, and you'll recognize this. This is him in his full Wolfman gear. This movie is where we've gotten all the modern understanding of werewolves. Turn into a werewolf at night at a full moon, killed only with silver or a silver bullet, biting someone and turning that person into a werewolf. The pentagram being a symbol of evil, being marking where the victims of the werewolf will go. So all these things came from this movie, believe it or not. Because if you look at specific legends in the various cultures, they're all different. But this is the modern definition of this creature, of this concept, comes from this movie, 1944, The Wolfman, which I think is a great classic. It's a classic monster movie, right? This one also, and Lon Chaney has replayed that role. Lon Chaney Jr. has rehashed that role several times. In fact, my favorite version of this, of him doing it, is in one of my favorite movies, which is it is, and I'm going to play you a clip real quick. I don't want to get copyrighted, but I'll play you real quick. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this is what Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. But in this, you have the werewolf, you have who's Lon Chaney Jr., and you have Frankenstein's monster, and you also have Dracula. So there you go. There you have all three of them in that particular movie, right there. One of my favorite movies of all time. So let me go back to where I am. Stop what I'm doing here. All right. All righty. All right. So one of my favorite movies, like I said, that is one of my favorite movies. Loved it since I was a kid, and it's a great, great movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you to see it. I think you can get the whole thing on YouTube now. First, it might be the whole movie might be on YouTube, but it's just a great movie that I've always loved. Gerard says it's my favorite. Well, good, awesome. I'm not the only one. And Shannon remembers. Yeah, yep. So yeah, I'm glad to see a lot of people still, like that stuff. So that was just a little hint of where it came from, right? That's our modern definition of the werewolf. It comes from that movie. It comes from the original movie, The Wolfman, and follow-up movies like that. So, but let's go back in time and find out a little bit more about stories of possibly real werewolves. Now, I have 4 stories to tell you, and you guys will make your determination if it's true or not. And well, it's up to you. And I also have some paranormal videos, of course, at the end of our tales here. I have 4 paranormal videos to show you, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so stick around for that. So let's get into it with our first story. Now, our first story goes back to the year 1185 in England. Now, it's not really a story. It's more so of a hold on. It's more so of a, a legend or a belief, I guess. It's about this individual right here, King John of England. Now, before he ascended the throne, he had he had done some traveling, and um, one of the places that he traveled to was a place called Osirori. Osirori. Now, what is Osirori? When I saw that, I didn't know what the heck that was. Like, where'd that come from? Well, it turns out that is a medieval name or term for Ireland that was used, and he had spent some time in Ireland. And at that time, people in England and in Norway believed that Ireland was the home of many vampires. I'm sorry, excuse me, werewolves. That it was a home for werewolves, and I couldn't figure out where this came from, but that was the legend, or that was the belief that Ireland was the home for many werewolves. So when King John went there and spent some time there, he spent quite a bit of time there before he ascended to the throne of England, and people believed that he was bitten by a werewolf there and that he personally would turn into a werewolf. Now, was there anything beyond this that I could find? No, it's just a rumor or a theory that was out there amongst the common folk that King John was a werewolf, and it probably had to do with a lot to do with that he wasn't really he was people were scared of him. He was a very fearful ruler, so people were afraid of him. So maybe that had something to do with it. But Gerald of Wales, um, who was his travel companion, had written documented things, and one of the things he wrote was that King John had met and dined with werewolves in Ireland. So that's basically where it came from, the story. And then after he died. People believe that he came back as a werewolf after he died and roamed the marshes of Wales. So who knows? I mean, but it's just interesting to me how far back this goes to 1185 and to someone who was very powerful, the King of England at the time. So interesting little story there about that. All right, so let's go on to our next story. Our next story brings us to France. Now, for some reason, France seems to have a lot of these werewolf stories. I don't know why. It's just what I found. We're going to go to the year 1574. Way back there, right? Way, way back. And this story is called The Werewolf of Dole, which was a region in eastern France. Now, let me show you what the Werewolf of Dole looked like. Now, because obviously it was um, way before pictures, right? What we have is an artist's rendition of this, of what he looked like based on description. So this is what an artist believed the Werewolf of Dole looked like. This guy over here on the right, that's a werewolf, but this is what they believe he looked like, and this is based on accounts of what he looked like at the time. So it's a real person. His name was Giles Garnier, Gilles. I don't know how you pronounce that in French, the first name, but Garnier, Garnier, the Werewolf of Dole. Now, why was he the Werewolf of Dole? Well, he was found to be a werewolf. He was convicted of being a werewolf. Now, what would lead people to convict him of being a werewolf is really the question, right? That's what we want to know. Well, it turns out that he was tried and convicted of killing and eating 4 children. And when he was caught doing this, he was actually caught consuming a child. He was arrested and brought to trial. And in the course of interrogation, which back then was really torture, he confessed the following. He confessed that a ghost in the woods gave him a potion that turned him into a wolf, that allowed him to turn into a wolf. And that he, once he started doing it, he couldn't stop doing it. Um, and Now, the interesting thing about this is that 50 people, that's a lot, 50 people testified that they saw him turn in and out of a werewolf, turn back and forth from being a werewolf, which is mind-boggling to me. Now, I know it was 1574 and hysteria could easily spread, as we know from the witch trials and other things like that. But 50 people specifically testified against this guy to say they saw him turn into a werewolf. But regardless, the fact is he did kill 4 children and ate them and cannibalized them. So he was a madman basically that lived outside of the town and decided for some reason to kill children and eat them. Now, whether he really was a werewolf or not, I don't know. Testimony. If you have 50 people that testify to anything, you're going to get convicted. So it's an interesting idea or concept at the time that 50 people would get together and do this. Could have been real. I don't know. But anyway, he's convicted and burned at the stake. And you'll find that in these stories, that seems to be the end of most of these real life werewolves. They get burned at the stake, much like a witch would have at that time. So that's Gillier. I guess it's Gillier Garnier from Dole. All right. Sorry about that. I had a little interruption there with the Wi-Fi, I guess. But anyway, all right. So let's go on. Let's go on to our next story. That was the Werewolf of Dole. We talked about King John. Let's talk about our third werewolf, also from France. This character's name is Jacques Roulette. Roulet. Roulette. Jacques Roulette. Now, I couldn't find a picture of him anywhere. Again, we're talking about the 1500s. So, and unless you're famous, you're not going to get, you're not going to have a portrait made of you. So the only thing I could find was this little artist thing here, which is not really, doesn't really show you what he looked like. But, it is what it is. Just like a rendition of him turning into a werewolf. For what it's worth, it's not really anything of value, but I thought I'd have something to put up there. Jacques Roulette from France. Okay. Now, what's the story about Jacques here? What's his story? Well, this took place in 1598. A little bit later, but just think about it. At this time period, the New World was discovered, right? Columbus was 1492. The New World was discovered, and there were plenty of people, starting up settlements in the New World, or at least exploring it. The settlements really started at 1609, but there was a few settlements before that. So it's not that far away for people to be believing in werewolves. It's not like total dark ages. It's after the Renaissance, in the middle of the Renaissance. So things were enlightened, but people were still believing in werewolves. So 1598, a 15-year-old boy's body is found naked and bloodied and half eaten, or not half. That's an exaggeration, but part of him is eaten. The two wolves are seen eating at the dead body of this 15-year-old boy, and people begin to a group of men pursue the wolves. The wolves take off and run into the forest. Now they pursue the wolves, and the wolves go into a bunch of bushes, like like a very thick thicket. So the wolves run into there to escape the mob of humans, the mob of townspeople that are chasing after them. And what emerges is a tall, gaunt man with long, straggly hair, with raggedy clothes. He emerges from where the wolves went in. And he has blood on his hands and it's gruesome, but pieces of skin from the 15-year-old boy's body under his fingernails. So it's a gruesome sight. Him emerging from this, he's immediately set upon by the townspeople. They arrest him and grabbed him and brought him to trial. They bring him to trial, and there's always this little bit of interrogation, which actually turns out to be torture, to get him to confess. They don't want to take anything action unless you confess. But anyway, they get him to confess. And he says that he is his parents, when he was a child, sold his soul to the devil. And in return for that, he was given the power to turn into a werewolf at night. And he confessed to killing and eating 4 children as well. And that seems to be a common thing here too. 4 children. I mean, it was the 15-year-old and 4 additional children that he admitted to killing and eating. And of course, he's convicted on his own word, on his confession, his tortured confession, unfortunately. That's the way it goes. And he is burned at the stake, much again. Number 2 burned at the stake, right? It seems to be they have a lot in common, werewolves with witches. They end up with stake burnings. So that was Jacques Roulette. Was he a real werewolf? I don't know. From that account, that's pretty damning. If he wasn't a werewolf, he was living with the wolves and behaving like a wolf, which is kind of bizarre and creepy in and of itself. So that was Jacques. So we had the King of England, King John. We had Jacques Roulette and Guillet Garnier. All right. Now, our 4th and final werewolf is by far the creepiest and the most famous, I should say, in history. And in fact, we have an artist again. This is again too late, or too far back in time for there to be pictures. And we have an artist's rendition of him, of what he was. And this guy, next time we're in Germany, we're not in France, we're in Germany, the Rhineland, which is right between France and Germany. And his name is Peter Stump. And he was a German farmer, and he's called the Werewolf of Bedburg, which was the town where he lived. Now, what did he look like? Well, here we go. Let's see what he looked like. Here we go. If I can get him up here. Here we go. This is what through an artist's rendition based on description of what he looked like. Looks kind of creepy, right? He was a big, burly man, rough looking, powerful looking man, farmer. Lived again on the outskirts of town, and he it was 1589 when he's finally convicted, and guess what happens to him? All right, so let's go through the story of what happened with Peter Stump. So Peter Stump is again someone who claims that he made a pact with the devil. And as a result of that, he was given a belt, a magic belt that he could wear. And this belt gave him the power to turn into a werewolf whenever he wanted to. So we're not talking about, in all of these cases, we're not talking about a curse of being bitten by another werewolf. These are cases where people claim they've had pacts with the devil or ghosts or other natural beings that gave them the power to be this, the power to turn into the werewolf. And Peter himself had no qualms about this. He said that he loved being a werewolf, that this was his. He felt the power. He felt powerful from it, et cetera, et cetera. Now he is said to have murdered and eaten the flesh of dozens of children and adults, which is, it's hard to actually believe. 14 children and 2 pregnant women. He was said to have killed and eaten at least parts of them. In fact, he killed his own son, which is bizarre. And there's also tales of him doing sexual things with his daughter, which I won't get into because of that means. But he killed his own son, and so what happens to Mr. Stump? Now, Mr. Stump, how he gets caught is interesting too, because once again, they find a wolf eating the body of a dead child. They see this, they go after the wolf. The townsfolk go after the wolf, and they, in the process, they corner him in a well, and it's not the wolf isn't like in the well. He's cornered by a well. In other words, there was a well behind him, and he's cornered by the people with pitchforks, with guns, with anything. They have knives, anything, and they end up lopping off the wolf's left foot, like the left paw of the wolf. But the wolf gets away, so they chop off the front part of his left paw, and he unfortunately gets away. Now, shortly thereafter, Peter Stump appears and has an injured left hand, which leads the town folks to say, "Ha, this is the werewolf, because we damaged the wolf's paw, and he suddenly has a left hand that's damaged." So all fingers point to Stump as the werewolf, and he confesses and has no qualm about it whatsoever. So he is grabbed and he's put on trial, and he is found guilty. And because his crimes were so heinous, and so many of them, that his punishment is by far pretty darn gruesome. They fix him to a wheel, a giant wagon wheel, and his flesh was torn from his body with hot pincers. And once that was done, all of his limbs were broken. And finally, he was beheaded, and his head was put on a pole as a warning to other werewolves or people that would delve with the devil, not to do these things. And his body was buried. The reason they broke his limbs, the theory was that if you break all of his limbs, he won't be able to rise from the grave, because they were really concerned that as a werewolf, he'd be able to come back from the dead, that you couldn't kill him necessarily. So that was Peter Stump, the most famous. werewolf in history, most famous real life werewolf, I should say, in history. And that's it. That, and so that's the story on Peter Stump. So we had King James the First, thought to be a werewolf of England. We had two from France, meaning Jacques Roulette and Guillet Garnier, all from the 1500s. And then Peter Stump, our most famous character, which is quite interesting stories, but all real stories. Now, whether they were actually werewolves or not, only the Lord knows, I guess. I guess you can argue it both ways. I mean, especially when you have 50 people testifying to one thing, the circumstances in which Peter Stump was caught are kind of bizarre. That he's injured, that he has the same injury as the wolf that they injured. Creepy stuff that make you think, and who knows? Maybe not. So those are my four werewolves from history. And then just as an aside, there a more modern story, and this is interesting to me, but it's not I don't have a person's name associated with it because no one was ever found. No one ever was found or believed to be the werewolf. But this took place in Wales in the 1790s, and it's in northern Wales. Supposedly, northern Wales at this particular time was being terrorized by what they called a monster, and this monster was attacking livestock, killing livestock, attacking horses, blah blah blah. And it all started on one night when a carriage was driving along late at night between the towns of Denai and Wexham, and encountered along the road what the driver described as a giant black monster that looked like a dog, who immediately attacked his horse. It was the size of a horse, though, which is interesting. He said it was the size of the horse. It attacked the horse, killed it, and began feeding on it. And the driver, ran in terror as this was going on, abandoning the carriage. And this went on for a couple of years. 1791, there was a mass of sheep found, dead, murdered, a mass of sheep, like a whole large amount of sheep in the same area, butchered. And it was said that the farmer of those sheep that found them like that found also the monster in the process of eating one of them. And he ran back to his barn. In seeing the monster, he panicked, ran back to his barn, and the monster pursued him. Now, he went into his barn and closed the door, and then the thing enters the barn. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This monster wolf creature enters the barn, and what he sees, he's hiding in the loft, and he sees this wolf come into the barn. And as the wolf comes into the barn, he sees it raise itself onto two legs. It raises up onto two legs and starts banging and banging, like banging with fists, that its paws begin to turn into fists, and it begins to bang and bang on the beams of the barn to kind of shake him down, to make him come down. The farmer swears that this is what he saw. Now, eventually, the thing gave up after it couldn't knock him down from the loft, and he took off into the night. And that in 1798, there were two bodies of men found mutilated, much like the sheep and the horse. But again, no one was ever found. But lore of the time said that this was a werewolf because it was too big to be a regular wolf, and the descriptions matched that of a giant dog. So who knows? That was the wolf of Wales. I'm sorry, the Welsh werewolf of the 1790s. So who knows? Could have been an extra large wolf in general. Who knows? But no one was ever caught or tried or anything like that for that one. That was just, and it's more modern too. The 1790s, not that bad, not that far away, 200 years ago, plus 200 plus years ago. So there's your werewolf stories for the site this evening. I hope you enjoyed them. And I haven't been. I'm sorry. I've been so into telling the stories. I haven't been watching the chat, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. But if there's anyone I didn't say hello to, I want to say hello. I'm Tony the Night Owl. Hello. Thank you for joining. I saw Baywatcher. Thank you for coming on in. El Toro is here. Il Toro is here. Love to see you. Who else is here? I said Bobo is here. Great. Awesome. Well, Delilah's been here. I think so. Yeah. So I think I said hello to everyone. But thank you all for joining me. Kelly is here. Hello, Kelly. As we get ready to transition to our paranormal videos, where I will certainly pay attention to the chat because I want to hear your take on them and what you think of them. William from Brooklyn. Yep. Okay, great, guys. All right. So Tony says they're gross. Yeah, they are. Hey, Marta. How are you, Marta? Yeah, they are very gross. So who knows? I've never met a werewolf, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't think I believe in it, but I do believe that there are people that think they might be werewolves, and that's a clinical lycanthrope. Like it's a psychological. It is a psychological diagnosed or recognized condition. There are people that believe they can turn into animals. So who knows if someone believes they're a werewolf, they might become one because they believe it, right? Or at least act it out. So and they may not look like Lenny over here, but who knows? All right, so let's go into our next phase of the show, which is our paranormal videos. And I'm curious to see what you guys think. All right, hold on here. All right, so this first one, I'm going to play this first one. And I want you guys to tell me what you think before I tell you what I think. And just as an aside, it's not easy finding these videos. I think I've kind of uh, diluted the market for these things because what I do is I try to. I mean, there's plenty of videos out there, but I try to weed out the ones that are obviously fake and weave out the ones that have an explanation. I think I'm trying to find ones that makes your mind think. Is this possible? What's going on here? Is it at least believable to some degree? That type of stuff, so that we can actually analyze and think about them. Because most of them are garbage. I got to tell you, I look at them every week. I look at them and I constantly look at them. Most of them are obviously fake garbage. I don't know why people do that, but they do. I don't know. I guess to get people to watch them, like anything else. But it's tough to find these, so it's getting harder. But I found four, so let's go through them, and you tell me what you think. All right, first one. First one I call Ghost by the Window. That's what I call this one. So you tell me what you think of this. All right, here we go. All right, now this is, let me put it on full screen. This is in the second floor. It's a second floor of a Tudor era type building. It's like a hotel. It's a Tudor, type of construction, and this is a window to the outside. This is the second floor. Now watch what happens in the window here, and you tell me what you think. See, it's the second floor of that building right there. Let me play it for you again, just so you get a good look at it. All right. Here it is in slow motion, right? Now, what do you think? What do you guys think of this? Now, here's what I think. Since nobody's commenting, nobody's commenting. I think it's just. I mean, to me, it looks like here. If to me, it looks like somebody with a sheet going by. It looks like a sheet, right? Like a werewolf sheet, right? But the only thing that made me look at this second guess this is it's the second floor of the building. Like, what's going on up there? Like, how does it happen to be up there? It's in that window right there. So, like, what is that? I mean, to me, it doesn't look spiritual. It looks like a sheet. But I'm just wondering, how this happened. How did this happen like this? I mean, I guess in order to do this, you'd have to rig it. You have to rig it from the top of the roof because there's nothing there to support it. So you'd have to be something on the top of the roof, which is very likely. Because I mean, it looks like a sheet to me. You could see it flapping at the end here, right? Sure. Hello, plumbing. How are you? Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's a second floor, Cranky. So, but I don't buy this one. I just thought the second floor is the only reason I showed it. I wouldn't even show this one, but I showed it simply because it's the second floor. So this would have to be something rigged from the roof coming down to fly in front of the window like that. So anyway, no, there's nothing but the roof above it that you could see. Here, I'll show you the part. See, like this is the window. So it would have to be something, I think what they must have done here is rig something from this roof peak at the top to hang down in front of this window like that to swing around because you see it like swinging around. So anyway, I think this gets this is a fake. I think I'm going to put this down as a fake. Hi, Gina. How are you? Good to see you. All right, so let me get this out of here. So that one is def. I think I'm going to go with. I don't even think that's a question. I think that's fake. It's just a question of how they did it. That's the mystery there. I don't believe it's anything but that, but a fake. All right. Let's see here. I'm on the second here. What is this? Close this out. What is going on here? All right. All right. Hold on here. Where are we? Here we go. Okay. Let's go to the next one. All right. This one is I call. Hold on. Where is it? Okay. This one we're going to call Scottish Cottage. Okay. So get ready for this one. Okay. The background to this is it's two guys camping in Scotland, on the Scotland Highlands, and in there they're by a lake, and there are these old abandoned Scottish cottages around them. They're stone ancient cottages. Nobody's in them. They're completely abandoned. They're very old, hundreds of years old, if not older. So our story, so to speak, begins when they are trying to make a fire. They had fished throughout the day, and they are trying to make a fire for the night before they, go to bed. And this is what they encounter. All right, so here you see this is the lake. Here's the kid making the fire here. Now, up in the corner here, you're going to see it's going to close up. There is a cottage up in the corner here, made of stone with a thatch roof, just like those, like you'd see in Braveheart or any of those old, all those movies of ancient Scotland. All right, so let's go with this and tell me what to think. Now look at this. Look what's moving around in the cottage. There's a figure and then a little figure right behind it. So these cottages, they swear, the makers of this video swear, were empty. There was no one in them. No one in them. So what is going on in the cottages over here? Hi, Zelda. Thank you for joining. These are the guys. These are the young guys that were camping here and filming themselves. And they saw this in the distance. That's the cottage. That's what it looks like. That's what the abandoned cottage looks like. So it's not a thatch roof, but it's pretty darn old. Look at the stone. It's all stone and everything, and it's abandoned. Part of it's rubble over there. But there's definitely nobody living in this. So who knows? It's very creepy to see that in the vacant moors, of Scotland in the background. You see this on your camera, movement in these supposedly abandoned things. So I don't know. That one would scare me. This would scare me because it's just unexplainable. And and there certainly wouldn't be a man and a child there. I don't think that would be. If there were two people hanging out there, I don't think one of them would be a child. So I don't know. It's creepy. No squatters. No squatters in abandoned buildings like this. They said they checked them out because they were exploring this area. There was nobody in them, and that's why they were camping there. So pretty scary stuff, I would say. If I was out there, I would not want to be comfortable with that at all. All right, so that's our Scottish cottage ghosts. That one, I think, it's up to you guys. It's up to each individual who sees it. I think that's scary at the least. At the least, it's scary. Because if there's a ghost there, okay. But if it's not a ghost, how are these people survive? How are there people surviving out there in the moors like that by themselves in a stone cottage, which is open to the elements? It's bizarre. It's scary to encounter anyone that would be living like that. All right. Now let's go on to our third one. Yeah, Patrick, creepy, right? I think it's very creepy. All right, let's go on to our next one now. All right, what's our next one here? That was Scott. Okay, ghost in which one here? Oh, ghost in the window or castle window. Okay, this is all right. This is the background to this one. It's a castle in Scotland. And this was a ghost hunting team that went in there to film stuff. So they put cameras all over the place. And I'll explain this when I launch it here, because you need to understand what we're looking at. All right, hold on. All right, so share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right, now. This is an old abandoned castle. It's not one of those castles that you would stay at if you're on a tour. It's an old ruin, like a ruins of a castle, right? What you're looking at here is a window in a room of the castle. Now, the window itself, originally it went outside. Originally it went outside of the castle, but it's been walled up from the outside. So there's nothing behind it. There's maybe There's maybe, from what you're looking at, there's maybe 6 inches, 7 inches to the brick wall on the, so it's basically a square in the bricks that was once a window, and it's been kind of walled off. So what they did was they heard noises and they were told about activity around this. So they set up a camera to just film it all night long. And this is what they found. So you tell me what you think here. As you can see, there's a figure that comes in and goes out. Now remember, there's only 6 or 7 inches here. This isn't, it doesn't go outside. It does not go outside. There's glass on here and exterior here. There's glass here, but there's nothing. There's no one that can come and look through this because it's only 6 or 7 inches deep. So what is that? This is explaining how it's walled up behind. But there you go. Uh, really, really inexplainable. This is really inexplainable. Unless, and I was trying to think if this could be a possible reflection. Could it be a reflection? But I don't, because this is glass, right? So could it be a reflection? I don't know. I don't know about that. Um, Considering that this is a night vision camera, and like, where's the light source? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where's the light source? But the thing moves, so if it is a reflection, someone is moving around in here that it would be reflecting off of. I don't know. It's just creepy looking. I mean, you see one eye is like glowing there. There's one eye of this thing that's glowing. So I don't know. You can't really tell what the clothing is. You can't really tell what the cloth. I couldn't tell what the clothing is. It's just, I don't know what. It's not like a. It's something. Like, I mean, like, this you can make it out as the head, right? The head and an arm, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it was strange enough to make their video, whatever, the video of their ghost hunting tour in this place, their ghost hunting excursion. So it's I don't know, interesting. All right, let's stop sharing that. Okay, now we've got one more, and this one I call apartment ghost. All right, this is in an apartment, a couple's apartment in America. Where am I? Here I am. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So now you see this is a person right here, right? And this is the door of the apartment. This is the door to leave the apartment. But what is this right here? What is this? Now watch. I'm going to play it for you. I'll shut the sound off because the sound's not really relevant. What is going on here? Look at this. This looks like an old lady. And then what is this? This is a guy coming in, but it looks like as if the ghost is opening the door for this guy to come into the apartment. This is the guy leaving, right? And the old lady is right behind him. Now the ghost is opening the door for him to come in. I don't know. It's just yeah, it's just creepy, man. I mean, this is like this is not a person because this is what a person would look like on the camera, right? This is the person. This is the real person. What is this? What is the ghost? Now, that does look like an old woman, but she just vanishes. She just comes and vanishes, right? And now this is like a younger woman opening the door. Really strange stuff. And this is just is said to be just cameras that they had set up in their house, in their apartment, because there was weird activity going on. They wanted to film what was happening, and this guy is coming home and leaving his apartment, and this is what they find on the camera film afterwards. So I don't know. So yeah, that's that, and I thought that one was this was the most intriguing of them because it's not a it's just bizarre, and I don't see any reasonable explanation for this. The way it materializes and disappears. It's definitely not a reflection. I don't think you can't really do you don't have to worry about double exposures with a digital video camera. So it can't be that. So this one's really unexplained, if you ask me. Yeah, Delilah, I think I would permanently leave that apartment myself. I don't know. I don't think I could sit there. um, did he knock on the door? No, 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 no. This is his apartment. He's not knocking. He's coming in. He's definitely not knocking. And in fact, he had no like he did. When you watch, if you watch the full video, they say that he doesn't have any idea that this is even here. He has no clue because there's no sound or anything like that. He simply unlocked the door and come in and walks in. And at the same time, this was going on, and the camera picked it up. So it's really creepy, and I don't know. It's hard to explain. So yes, that's a we are out of here moment. Yeah, I agree with you, See No Evil. Yeah, Gerard, he doesn't see it. No, he doesn't see it at all. So I don't know. It's very intriguing. Let's put it that way. Very, very intriguing. All right. So there you have it. There you have your paranormal vehicle videos. We had our werewolf stories. We saw a little clip of Abbott and Costello, which is my favorite. And I think it was a good Halloween weekend for Halloween month. Good. Lenny with his wolf gear on. Victor's back there. Where is he? There he is. There's Victor hanging out on the shelf. So we had a good one tonight. And thank you all for being here, of course. And you decide whether you believe in werewolves, if there could be a real werewolf. I don't know. I always say anything is possible. So, although I would doubt it, I would always keep an open mind to it. Anything's possible. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. Yes, hit the like button if you can. Thank you, Gerard, for reminding me. I forget to say that all the time. Hit the like button if you like what you do. If you don't like it, then don't. But if you like the show, hit the like button. It's helpful. I believe it is anyway. I believe it helpful, and comments are helpful too. Comments after the show are helpful too. So, um, oh, you're welcome, Marta. I'm glad you guys were here to enjoy it and you had a good time. Next week, I believe we're going to talk about witches, right? Salem, Massachusetts. We're going to talk about things. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in Salem, Massachusetts, as we know from its history. So that should be interesting. And Gerard, actually, one of our own, his significant other is a descendant from one of those witches in Salem. So that's pretty cool. He texted me that she has a descendant that was one of them. Not so cool for the person because we know what happened to them. Yeah, we know what happened to Rebecca Nurse. So so not so cool for her, but that's a pretty cool history though, to have. So but there's more to it than just the witch trial. So I got a bunch of stuff to talk about next week about that stuff, the weird stuff that goes on there all the time. I never have been there, but I always want it. It's on my list of things to do to visit Salem, Massachusetts. So, but anyway, Krumel, hello, how are you, Krumel? Good to see you. Oh, you can always watch it on replay, right? It's always there. You can go back and watch it. And I want to thank each and every one of you because without you, there's no show, right? Right, Lenny? Yeah, see, he agrees. He agrees. So on behalf of Lenny and Victor, I want to thank you all for joining me. Slim should be on next, I think. Slimmy Cricket's on next. If you're not doing anything, check him out. Other than that, have a wonderful fall weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you for building the guild, and stay scared because it's always fun. Let's blow out our candles. 1, 2, and good night. God bless.